Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live chat. I appreciate it. Today, arguably, is a very interesting and important video, okay? There's been some new interesting developments and most importantly, changes in behaviour. From the way this case has gone and the way I've predicted things, it seemed to have followed a certain pattern, right? The most recent predictions have arguably come true. That was changes in behaviour of individuals within the case, as well as potential family feuds, conflict, tension, aggression, right? So to make more sense of it, I will share with you the Facebook post. It's actually to do with Justin Rounds very shortly. We're going to follow a certain order as we go along. Bear in mind, you can share your thoughts, opinions and reactions as we go through it. Apologies if I'm a little slow this time. I want to fully understand the situation. I want to question this as much as possible because this could well be very important. So I don't want to miss anything out, okay? So I'm going to question everything. I'm going to analyze. We're going to do comparisons, side by sides, the lot. I think to begin with, we'll start with the Facebook post, the text, the comments, then the photo, and then a photo comparison to a previous one. As a very brief backstory before we get into it, if it's not quite clear yet, I woke up this morning, okay? Credit to one individual that let me know about it, right? I don't want to mention any names just out of respect for privacy, but you know, shout out to that one individual out there that let me know about this when I woke up in the morning. And also credit to another individual that provided screenshots because I don't have access to Facebook. So credit to both of them. Woke up this morning. Interestingly, last night I did make a prediction to myself before going to bed and I said, it'd be interesting. I've got a feeling that there's going to be some interesting news that comes very shortly. And then that's what happened. And basically what this news is Justin Rounds. I don't know if it's got to do with the recent big push with Equisearch's help and Candice Cooley and The Wash, but Justin Rounds left a post on Facebook about 5-6 hours ago now. Remember the time zone difference. His tone, his voice, somewhat aggressive, arguably threatening behaviour, but it's understandable, with a picture attached to it, okay? I think we should move over to Facebook now to read that text and the tone of it. Right, so here we are starting off in what I believe is the correct order of events and change of behaviour. You'll notice it. If there are any mistakes or updates, additional information you want to provide, feel free to do so in the comments section or the live chat. It's welcomed, okay? So a bit of background on this post. This was on Find Dylan Rounds community Facebook group, you know, the one what I've always referred to when it comes to these posts made. And Justin Rounds actually posted himself, which I've not seen before. Now, has anything changed? Well, we'll zoom in so it makes it easier for you to see. Look at Justin Rounds, his profile picture. That has changed. Now, I don't know what it's of, a silhouette of a younger person, maybe. Originally, it was a group photo of him, I think Dylan and some of the other children, right? So it's like an old photo and they've kept it there. But now they've changed it to more of a anonymous photo, which is interesting. You know what I'm saying? As you can see, 4 hours ago, take in mind, this was posted around the same time as the more important post, okay? So that's why I'm trying to think which order did it follow in, and I'm assuming it's this one first, because look at the tone of text. He said, out at Lucin today and saw this. Thank you so much to whoever put this up. So he sounds positive, right? I mean, from what we've heard of Justin in previous interviews, and bear in mind, I will do a body language analysis update in my next video, I think. And we might be able to tie it in with this video too. So that's still under control. But let's just focus on this for now, okay? So the tone of text here is positive. As it says, out at Lucin today, you'd assume he's out there with Candice Cooley and possibly EquiSearch continuing that big push Candice Cooley talked about before winter time. Take in mind, a couple of days ago, there was a post by Candice Cooley talking about EquiSearch stepping in onto Lucin to help assist and search. If you haven't checked that video out already, if you want to see very interesting photos of a wash, the damage, the destruction it can cause, and the depth of it, make sure to check out my previous video. There will be a link down below in the comment section pinned. Make sure to check that out after this video, okay? So I guess it's continuing on from the search of EquiSearch, Justin, Candice, hence this, I guess, post update. So whilst Justin was out there on the land, he came across this. I don't know exactly where it is in Lucin, but it looks like a fence, a post, and it's got this sign up. Arguably speaking, this could have been there for some time, possibly. Bear in mind, in one of my previous videos, when we looked at Devil's Playground, on one of the posts there of Devil's Playground, it had the same poster attached, or flyer, leaflet, okay? Interesting, because from what's been said previously, some people haven't seen the posters out and about. There's supposedly none in Montello because it's unnecessary, but we're actually seeing a bit more activity, if you want to call it that, within the heart of Lucin, despite it being a ghost town, despite it only having a population of 2 to 3 individuals, and yet you've got all these awareness posters, which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Because if there's not many people around who are going to be present to see them, but nevertheless, you got the photo. It's more to do with the hunters, you know, maybe the season. I don't know if it's coming to an end yet or not, but at a certain point, you got hunters going out there. Could be locals of Montello, Wendover, wherever. Might even be people travelling in, tourist, you never know. And whilst you're out there to see a poster like this, it does create awareness, which is helpful. Interestingly, this is somewhat of an outdated poster, right? We'll just have a quick look at the poster just to see what the information actually says, okay? Just in case it needs updating. Right, so it says, please be on the lookout. Watch for anything suspicious that could help locate or solve the criminal disappearance of Dylan Rounds from Lucin, Utah, okay? Now this text is a little tricky to read, so I'll try and read it. Dylan Rounds went missing from his farm in Lucin, Utah on May 28th, 2022. Foul play is suspected and a suspect is in custody on unrelated charges. Okay, that seems to make sense. Like when it was saying he went missing on the 28th. Yeah, that seems to fall in line because that's the last known contact made, and then it went radio silent after that. They're saying foul play is suspected because, you know, from what we've heard and the evidence that's come out since and progression, it does lean in that direction. Where it says a suspect is in custody, that's to do with Brenner, and unrelated charges, it's to do with Brenner and his gun charge, being a felon, owning a firearm, 22 caliber rifle, Don Hately grassing him up. That's why he got arrested. Okay? So I guess it says a suspect. Why it's being vague is because it's an old poster, right? So it's like, if it was made now, they would say Brenner because it's like more official now. Does that make sense? Let's continue reading. Dylan is 20 years old. 5'10", 160 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He most likely had on jeans, a flannel shirt, and no boots. If you see anything suspicious, like newly dug ground or articles of clothing, please take a photo and do not disturb it. Contact law enforcement below as soon as possible. Please take a photo of the flyer so you have it handy if needed, and then the phone number's provided down at the bottom. So in terms of the age, it's keeping relevant to how old he would be now if he was still alive. His height, 5'10", weight 160 pounds, seems to check out. It's providing clothing as well, details of that, which is very important. Something that was lacking on the NAMOS database report of Dylan, as well as some other posters previously. So it's fairly well-rounded, right? Interestingly, it's not saying anything about reward money, which is interesting because, as you know, most posters we've come across have given the reward money, whether it be an old one, 20,000, or the 5,000 one for Chase Venstra, or the 100,000 one for Dylan, or the updated one of 200,000. There's always been a figure, but this time there isn't, because it's more of an awareness poster. Does that make sense? Okay. So, if you have any questions, any thoughts, additional information regarding this post, the tone of Justin Round's voice, the order of which post followed after the other, the actual poster itself, anything, feel free to list it down below in the comments section, okay? Now, we move on to the important big part, okay? Let's move over. So, as you can see here, bear in mind, if some of the text is different, it's probably just down to translation. Now, backstory behind this, right? It said 4-5 hours ago, similar to this one at the time, at least when I had a brief look, okay? Bear in mind, time zone difference. Now, we just zoom on into the top part first, the caption of the post. Justin Rounds, Jim Brenner and Don Hately are dead men walking. They don't even know it yet. We all will meet God, but they will first, I promise. So, there might be different ways of interpreting this, okay? The first part where it says, Brenner, Hately, dead men walking. I mean, that sounds like Justin is ready, almost warlike, prepared for battle, to step out and to hunt them down. That's how you could interpret it. I know you got to take many factors in. It could be heat of the moment. He might retract this statement. He might delete his post at some point. He might apologise. We need to take that into mind, because if you remember previously, okay, remember when Candice Cooley for the first time, I think it was the first time, or returning back to Doug's channel, no thanks. Remember when Candice was doing that interview? Do you remember how Justin Rounds reacted at the start? He was like, oh God, I can't believe she's going on there. Why is she going on that damn channel with that person? You know, I'm out here trying to be searching for Dylan instead of going online and talking and sitting down and doing nothing, including swearing as well within that tone of voice. Do you remember that? Now, when I covered it at the time, that is when it was raw, when it unfolded. And shortly afterwards, there was an update by Justin. He apologised. He said, oh, I'm sorry for how I behaved. I think, you know, Candice doing interviews and the way Doug conducted it was very good and done well. No problem there. So he apologised. He changed his tone and it was calm. So the same could happen here in maybe a few hours' time. You never know. That's just what I wanted to put forwards, right? Now, you might interpret the text differently, but from the way I read it, it does sound kind of threatening. It sounds like a call out saying, You better be ready, and you better, sleep with one eye open, because I'm out to get revenge. That's how it seems with Justin Rounds. And once again, it's understandable considering what the family have been put through. If someone or something's been taken away, you're going to react. People will react differently. Some people will be sad. Other people may be in denial. Some people might get very angry. Or maybe all three of those emotions in a certain order. Now, the part where it says they don't even know it yet, that makes me think that Justin has a plan to get revenge, and the likes of Jim and Don, who aren't aware what Justin is thinking, they're kind of susceptible, prone to whatever that could happen, getting ambushed, taken out, confronted, surprise attack, that level of action. And where it says, we all will meet God, but they will first, I promise, that can be interpreted two ways. The overall theme is a level of judgment, almost like Judgment Day. Your actions, your behaviour might have consequences or a positive outcome. It's up to God to decide and to assess how you've behaved in life. That's how it could be interpreted, right? The bit where it says, but they will first, I promise, that's basically saying that they're going to die before Justin does. They're going to die before other family members do. You could interpret that in a logical way, because Jim Brenner is 59 years old. Don Hately is arguably older than Brenner. Candice Cooley is obviously younger than those two guys, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Justin Rounds is also younger. I don't know how much by, because I don't know his age, but logically speaking, if Don and Jim are older than the rest of the people, they're going to die first, right? It's obvious to think like that. Though another way of looking at it would be, those two are going to die first, but not through age or natural causes, but through physical violence, revenge, avenging the son, avenging Dylan and his loss. Does that make sense? So, different ways of looking at it. What we also need to remember, okay, it's not the first time Justin has, in a way, acted as if he's going to take matters into his own hands. You remember in the past, in one of the interviews, I don't know if it was I think it was East Idaho News, and basically it was the time of when Kurt got the call from the psychic reading in Montello, I believe, and it was to do with supposedly Dylan held captive, hostage in Montello by Aviles and Chase Venstra, from the looks of it. Sure, it turned out as a false lead, misinformation, but in the process of it, Candice Cooley and Justin, when they heard that news at the time, back then, relevant to the time, they were proactive. They were like, oh damn, we need to get down there. This is serious. This could be it. We could finally find Dylan. And that was early on, right? So in the process to that, with the LE at the time, they tried contacting the LE and saying, hey, you need to get down to Montello now because Dylan's down there held hostage. And the LE were like, well, no, we're not going to go down there. Good luck, though. You can. And that angered Justin Rounds. And I don't know if it was in order to get a reaction or if it was literally meant by Justin. Justin said at the time, as he said, mirroring in the East Idaho News interview, that Justin was going to go down there to Montello and take things into his own hands, sort it out himself, regardless of the consequences. Now that caught the LE's attention, because when you say something like that, it's as if you're saying, I'm going to go down there, no holds barred. If it requires violence, if it requires beating someone up, if it requires someone getting hurt, and for me to be able to save my son's life, then I'm going to do that. LE don't want any further escalations, right? So they eventually came down and investigated, and then it was resolved. But you saw what Justin Rounds was willing to risk, possibly his own life, safety, and, all of that, and possible drama too, because he's determined and he's passionate to save Dylan. Obviously, it makes sense. So in a way, it's kind of similar to now, isn't it? I guess the only difference is back then, Justin Rounds was arguably fighting against time and possibly people to save Dylan. Now, it seems as if it's Justin fighting against or fighting for avenging Dylan's death. You see the transition, but the aggression, the focus has not washed away. When it comes to Candice Cooley, Candice seems to be more verbal, whether it be criticising, complaining, spreading awareness. Justin, for most part of it, has been reserved, quiet, arms crossed, holding something within. And that could well be rage, anger, frustration, confusion. And the way it seems from this post and arguably the photo down below, as you see here, something must have happened. There must have been some new information, a new finding, a new lead, whether it was passed on to Justin, they received a phone call from the LE, or when they were present with Equisearch out there just recently, a day or two ago. And then that's what triggered Justin Rounds to create this post, right? It must be something serious, because Justin Rounds doesn't normally post much on social media. He doesn't engage to the level of Candice Cooley. You remember the interviews. The only time Justin Rounds has been interviewed is when he's been with Candice Cooley, and that's mainly been on East Idaho News Channel, or in recent time, the Heavy D video. For most of the other interviews, it's been Candice Cooley by herself, right? And that could be because Justin isn't as comfortable doing interviews, or he just prefers being boots on ground, more physical that way rather than talking. Actions speak louder than words. That could be his mentality, so that would be understandable. So for Justin to post something, there's got to be a reason behind it online, right? And that's where it could tie in with this photo. When looking at it, as a brief backstory, it's off the grain shed. It appears to be nighttime. You might not be able to see it quite clearly, but it's actually taken on the dashboard of the vehicle. So someone's inside of the vehicle, they've put the phone or camera, maybe rested it on the dashboard and took a photo looking out the front window, looking into the grain shed, almost driving into the place, but not quite. Does that make sense? Now, we can assess it much deeper in a second. We can go really into it, and I'll try my best to point all the objects out and question as much as possible, and even do a comparison before and after if that's the case. But before we do that, let's just take a look at other messages, because in this post, obviously you've got the comment section. We need to check that out first, just to see if there's any additional information, any additional responses from Justin Rounds, to see if there is a resolve or if there is any reasoning behind his behaviour. Okay, so let's move on to that now. Now, here are the comments. What I'm going to do is read through all of them, just in case you find it difficult to read or understand, okay? So a guy called Sydney says, "All our love, Justin." Then Justin Rounds leaves a reply saying, "My promises are not hollow." So I don't know how to interpret that. I mean, he said hollow. Is that a Bible reference? Or did he mean to say not hollow? Like, if he meant my promises are not hollow, then he's probably talking about what he says is what he means, and he is going to act on it this time round. But the wording hallow, I think, is more of a Bible reference or something religious. I guess. It might be to do with taking control, almost doing God's work, being the dealer of judgment, placing it upon somebody's soul and acting and responding accordingly. Maybe that's what Justin Rounds wants to do and is going to do if he's able to. He's going to take control. He's going to decide who lives, who dies, who gets punished. You see what I'm saying? That's one way. That's how it could be interpreted. And then a person called Joy and Elaine said, thoughts and continued prayers for you and your family. So you've got the standard level of support from people, obviously. Justin Rounds responds saying, if you see this done, I will be seeing you sooner than later. And then a guy called Steve says, hey Justin, I sent you a message, my friend. Maybe that's just consolidating with him, trying to calm him down. But from what Justin Rounds said then, if you see this done, I'll be seeing you sooner than later. That is a direct call out, isn't it? It's like, I'm coming for you. I hope you see this, because if you don't, you're not going to know what's coming your way. Who knows what the outcome would be? I think what we need to understand, supposedly there has been a confrontation in the past. I don't know how long ago it was, but I'm sure there was some kind of argument going on between Kurt Wadsworth and Justin Rounds, if I'm correct in saying. And in that process of the argument, Don Hately stepped in between them, and Don Hately grabbed a shovel and was gonna, almost acting in a threatening way, pointing it towards Justin Rounds. That's at least what Candice Cooley said, along with Justin, in a previous interview. So there's already been a level of tension and a level of conflict, right? Back then, Don Hately might have had the power and control because he had a shovel in his hand and he could have whacked Justin over the head, right? This time round, it might be more of a level playing field, right? Who knows what could happen? Do you agree with how Justin is reacting? Do you understand why he is this way? Do you feel Don Hately is aware of this situation? Is there a possible explanation to why Don Hately is no longer in a Lucin? More about that in an upcoming video, okay? If things have transpired, progressed from now till then, though, I'll have to change the cycle or the format of the video, but we will look into Don Hately another time, just like with Justin Rounds and his body language behaviour, okay? That is all in place, right? So, interesting. Definitely a direct call out. And this is the thing, we've heard call outs within the Dylan Rounds community, certain YouTube channels doing it with one another. And you know what? You can downplay it, you can criticise it, you can say it's unnecessary, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's not good. Well, look now, deeper into the case with more direct people involved, and they're calling one another out. So it's not just standard community drama, it's getting more serious now, right? Move on to the next slide. Paul Williams says, sorry man, continued prayers. Brooke M. Williams, not the Brookie, don't get confused, said, I pray to God that this kid is round. What? You all need justice. I'm ready and steady, watching updates. God bless you all, and pray that he is still out there and alive. David Jones says, don't blame you in the slightest. He's basically just sympathising, understanding why Justin is angry. Nicole says, I'm just so sorry for all of this. No words. I hope this means more answers for you, but with that comes a lot more. Okay. Anger, pain, I'm sure. I can't even imagine what you're experiencing. Understandable, once again. Then Justin Rounds responds on a tirade of different comments, saying, let's drain mainline Donald, you stupid fat fuck. Now, interesting. It's coming down to insults now. I don't know if Don Hately is fat. He looks fat in a previous photo I saw, kind of the same size as Brenner, if not kind of bigger, right? I don't think I can get an image on the screen right now, but if you look at the thumbnail of this video of mine, whether it be at the start of the live premiere, the countdown, you'll see the thumbnail and you'll see Don Hately. He's kind of fat. He's got a beard, okay? Bit like Brenner, right? You'll notice if you've seen the thumbnail, right? And that's Don Hately. Now, Justin Rounds, aside from going to insults, starts saying Donald. So I don't know if it's like a play on words, teasing him, but yeah, it's getting a bit serious. Now, what does it mean by let's drain mainline Donald? Is that like an insult line? I'm trying to understand the wording. Drain main line. Drain what? Drain Don Hately? Drain a wash? Does anyone know what that means? Is it just an insult? Or is it talking about, right, let's go to this location and sort things out? What does it exactly mean? I'm not quite sure. If you have an answer, feel free to respond down below. Then Justin Rounds leaves another comment saying, bring all of your family. And then Justin also says, also bring your gay son. So that's interesting. So, I'd say it's heat at the moment, but you know how some people can get triggered saying, oh, you shouldn't be calling that person out and saying a gay son. That's offensive. You know how people can be. I mean, those sort of people could put it on a twist now if they were the ones that were all in on the theory of Dylan being gay as well. Just take that in mind. They could now say, oh, because the way Justin is calling out that person for being gay, that could explain to why maybe he disliked Dylan, because Dylan was gay as well. That is just a possibility of a different point of view of a certain type of people that are fixated on an unnecessary theory, let's just say. Do you understand what I'm saying? In my opinion, there's no issue here. Justin Rounds, heat of the moment, not quite thinking before texting, speaking, but it's understandable due to the condition, the situation, and if present information has come about, how are you supposed to react to it on the spot? It can be difficult, but basically what you're seeing here is almost like a family showdown in a way. May even be a one-man army versus an entire family, you don't know. When it comes to Jim Brenner and his family, I don't know if there are any other family members alive. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you know, feel free to leave a comment down below. But I don't think there are any other family members present. Now, with Don Hately, he has been a bit more established, right? Although he might be squatting in Lucin, before that he was a truck driver, I think maybe in East Idaho Falls, possibly, or just East Idaho. He was a bit more established. He had like a network and connections, and from the looks of it, a family as well, because he's got a son. So I don't know where those other family members are, whether they're in Lucin, Montello, or further afar. Maybe they no longer live or are in contact with Don. As said, correct me if I'm wrong. If you know the family situation with Don Hately, his son, and other family members, wife, brother, sister, whatever, etc., list it down below. But from the looks of it, because I guess Justin would know, because he would have been in contact with Don in the past, they have met before, they might have shared information, talked about family life and all of that. Justin probably has an idea. And at this moment in time, Justin is showing no fear, is he? He's basically saying, I don't care who you are, what you are, bring yourself and you might as well bring your entire family because we need to sort this out. It ends tonight. That's basically the wording. Whether it be to publicly expose Don in front of his family and child, or maybe even take things more physical, you don't know. But that's how it seems to be going, and it's that family feud could turn into a Mexican standoff between the Rounds family, maybe the Cooley family, Don Hately's family, a three-way. And if not that, take out the Cooley family and bring in maybe Brenner's family or Kurt's family. You don't know. This could all go down almost like a battleground. You know, if the police are corrupt, they might allow it to happen. They might just sit back as all these families go at each other. Just to briefly cut in, with Candice Cooley, she seems to be more verbal. She seems to be more focused and down the line dedicated to legal representation, legal action, right? Taking it out in that way, whether it be on the LE, whether it be on certain suspects, whether it be even on salty pancakes for trespassing on the farmland, salty pancakes, anybody else in between, Kurt Wadsworth. You know, if you're not allowed to go on that land, Candice Cooley and Justin have agreed that and said it's trespassing, they might follow it up down the line. Or maybe Candice will, she might be more determined that way. Whereas with Justin, with this current situation, he's more physical. So that's the way I see it with this whole standoff. And this ties in with my prediction, what I made back in the past about a Mexican standoff and showdown in Montello or Lucin with certain individuals wrapped up in the case. And it looks like it's developing now. Okay? So you can leave your thoughts down below once again to what you think of this. Response by Justin. Let's move on to the next one. Vicky says, I hadn't heard anything about Don being involved. You must have received more info. Prayers for you and family, Justin. Just pray that you won't stoop to their level. Right. So for Vicky to say, I didn't know Don had anything to do with it, is understandable. It depends how you followed the story. Realistically talking, and arguably factually speaking, the likes of Don Hately alongside Brenner did do a lie detector test, also known as a polygraph test, along with Chase Venstra as well. And Robert Aviles, I believe. Robert Aviles passed, if I'm correct in saying, correct me if I'm wrong, whereas the likes of Chase Venstra, despite having a motive on the 28th, being in Snowville at Flying J's 7 a.m. in the morning the day Dylan went missing, later going down to Clinton, Utah, and then later that 10:30 p.m. at Ogden at Little Caesars Pizza. Despite all that, Chase Venstra failed his polygraph test. It's still unknown to what question. Some people say it's not serious. Other people think he does play a role in Dylan's disappearance. But it's not just Chase Venstra. Jim Brenner also failed his polygraph test, which is kind of more expected, right? Because he's the main suspect. He has lied before. But the one individual out of all those which seems to stand out in a peculiar way, arguably idiosyncratic behaviour and a contrast from before and after, is Don Hately. Don Hately passed the lie detector test, and yet at the start of the case of Dylan's, Don Hately did lie on a few occasions when it came to like giving tip-offs, suggesting to the police that they go to the likes of Bald Eagle Mountain and around that area, go to the top, the peak, because that's where Dylan may be and that's where there's lots of rubbish at. And when the LE went up there, they found nothing and there was no rubbish. So when they came back down, they kind of pinned Don Hately up against the wall and told him off as well for wasting police time. And so it's interesting how someone like Don can go from lying to the police face to face and then telling the truth in a polygraph test at a later date. It's a weird, change of events. though it could be partially explained from what some viewers have said over time. People have said that polygraph tests aren't always accurate. There can be some variables that can't always be controlled, and they can impact the results negatively, so they're not natural responses, such as if a person is very nervous, anxious, even if they're, a good person, they are telling the truth, or at least trying to. Because they're nervous, the lie detector test picks it up and, seems to internalize it as it's a lie, like they're trying to hide something when they're not. And then a person who could be very cool, calm, and collective, but also very manipulative and responsible for a bad action, gets away with it. So I think it's worth taking that into mind. But it's just interesting, but it's also understandable to why some people out there wouldn't know much about Don if they did see the lie detector results. So worth taking that in mind. Now, Justin Rounds does respond back and say, stoop to that level. I will go to the lowest of the low if that's where I have to. So Justin Rounds is just, confirming his position, his state of mind, where he stands. And he is willing to go like all in if it means getting some kind of justice or some kind of revenge. I can imagine Candice Cooley wouldn't be too pleased. She wants it done in a more formal way, I guess. But, Justin has his own, behaviour, has his own life, has his own way of decisions and choices made. So that's just how it is. Now, in the chat, what do you think it means by I'll stoop to the lowest of the low? Could that mean a cheap shot, an ambush, an unfair fight? So someone like Justin brings a gun to a fist fight, if that's what it requires. Or Justin might get backup from somewhere. What do you think? Leave your thoughts down below. If it did come to a confrontation, what does it mean by going to the lowest of the low? Is it in terms of physical action or verbalness? Let me know. Now, below that, a person called Chelsea Martin says, hang in there. The truth always prevails. Don't bring yourself to their level. Thoughts and prayers are with you all. So you've got people now coming in, still positive, still caring, trying to diffuse the situation. I guess it's done to prevent Justin from, making any wrong moves or derailing the case, because I guess that's what you got to understand. Whilst they, and mainly Candice, have been saying outwards to the general public that don't do this, don't go here, don't go there, you might ruin the evidence, you might contaminate it, you might harm it, and then that can affect the actual case and the evidence, and it could impact the actual court case of Brenner, whether he gets sent down or not, depending on the punishment, right? So I guess it's the same here. If Justin does go in and takes it out on Don Hately, or tries to reach out to, Brenner, even if it was a physical one-on-one prison meeting, he might lash out there. In some way, it might just cause a conflict of interest. It might derail the case. And at this point, considering it's been on a very slippery slope and unstable due to the actual process of, solving Dylan's case and how the police have been, it's like you want to try and hold on to the slightest of hope. And an event like this would probably take that away. So you can leave your thoughts whether you agree or not. Anything else? Rita says, Justin, I'm praying you get all the answers you deserve. Did you take this photo today while in Lucin? Very good question, a very important one. Regarding that photo, they're basically referring to, apologies about all the slides, this photo here, okay? We will get into that very shortly. Let me just return back to where we were at. Here we go. So let's see if Justin responds to Rita's question. Here we are. Diana says, I'm so sorry, Justin. So they've got the Dylan Brown's profile picture. John Baker says, Justin, I am praying you have closure soon. Those two will have what's coming to them. Arguably, one already has, in a way, because Brenner is locked up, right? He's already been arrested, although it's not been for Dylan disappearance, it's just been for gun charges, but he's locked up, right? Don Hately isn't. He's not been done for any gun charges. And this is the thing you got to understand. Don Hately is a bit of a slippery character. He might not be the sole main guy for Dylan's disappearance, but he might have played a part in some way. And also, he also played a part for putting Brenner in jail with reporting and surrendering that .22 caliber rifle Brenner handed over to Don to hide and conceal. Don didn't like the idea of that and obviously called the FBI and had an interview and the police. So Don Hately, if he's willing to throw a long-time friend under the bus for his own safety or something, then maybe Don Hately is a little bit in the shits now when the likes of Justin Rounds is out for him. And that could explain to why Don Hately has left Lucin, because Candice Cooley did say he's moved elsewhere in Utah. So it could all tie in, right? Anything else on here? Christy, not the Christy in the chat right now, okay? This is a Christy with a K. Says continued prayers. Next slide. Holly says, spoken like most parents in your situation. I can't even begin to imagine. Prayers, I hope you are getting some shit discovered. Kristin says, sending love. Rita says, I hope this means you have more information. Praying. Still no replies yet from Justin Rounds. Robert says, how can I help, sir? Tim said, I'm with you on this. Sherry says, Justin, are you okay? I pray you find answers. Still no response yet from Justin at the moment. Tammy, thoughts and continued prayers for you and your family. Trundy says prayers. Alethea says praying for Dylan and family. Joy Perry says, Justin, oh, is that on the next slide? Yeah, here we go. This could be some interesting information. Joy Perry says, Justin talked to Kurt. He was there at the party too. I assume the party is the Memorial Day weekend get-together barbecue. Correct me if I'm wrong. Joy elaborates and says, Ellenberg knows what happened to Dylan because Kurt's daughter, Taylina, told her to keep her mouth shut. She threatened her. David Jones says, you know this. How? Joy responded, saying, Kurt had vetted several things. He also said he had the key fob in his pocket because it was too big. If you go back to some of the live chats, did Salty Pancakes has, and he interviewed him, and how did he know Bernard was not there on the farm that day for a while? Because Don Hately, Kurt Wadsworth, and Don was all at the barbecue the same day. They're all involved. Right, okay. Just going to try and go back to that to try and internalize, okay? Just give you a bit of time yourself as the viewer to internalize it. I do understand a few people have advised me to look back at some of the earlier interviews of Kurt Wadsworth with Salty Pancakes or something along the lines of that. I understand that is something I need to do, but at the same time, I've just not had the time to do so because I've been making my own videos and that takes up a fair bit of time, especially when I'm doing it every single day when trying to make sense and cover this case, right? And also with Salty Pancakes past live streams with Kurt Wadsworth, if I'm correct in saying, they're about 4 hours long, 5-6 hours. I don't want to be spending that long watching it. Understandably, it's probably important, but it's long. You get me? I mean, when I was looking at No Thanks interview with Candice Cooley, once or twice, maybe two occasions, the interview video was like nearly 2 hours long. It's a long time to sit there and listen through it all. It's a long time to sit there and try and pick up on every single key point mentioned. And also take in mind the actual audio quality is pretty piss poor. Aside from Kurt Wadsworth being arguably drunk and pissed at times, it's the actual communication. It's very grainy, it's muffled. I struggled to hear it when I had a brief look at some point. So it is kind of problematic and restrictive. But everything aside, Kurt Wadsworth has been talked about in the past. When it comes to this key fob situation, right at the beginning when I touched upon it, I was the first one to talk about the possible decoy key fob theory, right? Turned out things were changed in order, and that was because of Candice Cooley and misinformation. I'll briefly talk it through. So originally, back then, was it June or July? It was a time when Justin Rounds was in Montello. He was spreading awareness or setting up a poster, the $20,000 reward for any information of finding Dylan Rounds. And when Justin Rounds was leaving Montello, that is when Kurt Wadsworth made the phone call to the Cooley, the Rounds family, right? And said, hey, Dylan is down here. I've heard it from a psychic. You need to get down here quick. Most likely it was opportunistic behaviour. Kurt thought he could make a quick bit of money for it, so he thought, why not? Turned out to be a false lead. Now, originally, the way it was worded was the key fob was returned on the same day as that situation of what happened in Montello, Kurt phoning, family going down to investigate with the police. That's how it was worded at the time. And I thought, oh, maybe that was done primarily to, push everyone away from the farm. So then it's all nice and quiet. So then Kurt could go to Dylan's trailer and put the key fob back, right? That's what I was under the impression of. Though in recent time with an interview, a live one with Candice Cooley, she basically said the key fob returned the day after or the day after that. So it didn't happen on the same day, so there's no link anymore. That's not my fault. That's because Candice Cooley got it mixed up back then. So you can only think at the present time, right? So it's lit the flame again, arguably speaking, from what's been said here by Joy Perry. Has anyone heard of Joy Perry before? Do you know this individual? Is Joy watching right now? If anyone knows the person, or if the actual person is present right now, feel free to leave a comment down below confirming something or adding on to your own points, because Kurt Wadsworth has been talked about before. Candice Cooley didn't think Kurt Wadsworth was really tied in it. She said she could put him aside for now while she focuses on other people within the case, but she didn't completely dismiss him. But this is the thing, it does also make you think, if we're tying back to the whole Don Haley situation and that confrontation, that standoff between Justin, Kurt and Don, maybe there was some kind of disagreements already brewing from there back then. Now, aside from Kurt, Taylina, I believe the daughter, has also appeared on Salty Pancake's panel. I know there's been a lot of discussion back and forth of who is who's siding with one another. There's been quite a few people over time that have basically said Salty Pancakes, not coming from my mouth, but other people, that Salty Pancakes is in on it with the Wadsworths. That Salty Pancakes, aside from providing Kurt and maybe Tylena a platform to speak on, as well as Pancakes paying them off for the interview, so they are benefiting. They're given talk time as well. They're given a chance, an opportunity to defend themselves and shift the blame possibly onto somebody else. Salty Pancakes may allow that. Salty Pancakes has been accused of defending them. Other people have accused Salty Pancakes of being related to the Wadsworths. People have said Salty Pancakes is working for the Wadsworths. There's been a lot of different theories, and I know a lot of people, or a fair few, might criticise or say, oh, is it necessary? Well, it is. Because when it comes to times like this, when it's direct people in the case who may be associated in some way with an outsider who might be on YouTube, it's worth taking it all into mind, because we always make links back, especially on this channel, because you got to look at everyone, everything and anything and question everything just in case. Okay, so you can leave your thoughts down below. I'll read this out one more time just to try and make sense of things so you can hear it yourself. Just visualize or focus when I read this and let me know, does this trigger a memory, a thought, recollection of events? Okay, I'll read it now. So, Joy said, Justin Rounds talked to Kurt Wadsworth. He was there at the party too. Ellen Berg knows what happened to Dylan Rounds because Kurt Wadsworth's daughter, known as Taylina, told her to keep her mouth shut. She threatened her. David replies, how do you know this? Joy responds, Kurt Wadsworth had vetted several things. He also said he had the key fob in his pocket because it was too big if you go back to some of the live chats. Did Salty Pancakes and he interviewed him, and how did he know Bernard was not there on the farm that day for a while? Because Don Haley, Kurt and Don was all at the barbecue the same day. They're all involved. Leave your thoughts down below on what you think about that. It's a little incoherent by Joy. Joy is a bit dodgy when it comes to language used. It started off okay, but then it got a bit confusing at the bottom where it said Don Haley, Kurt and Don. I assume she means Don Haley, Kurt Wadsworth and Justin Rounds were all at the barbecue, if that's what she's referring to. So, first of all, the question I put towards you, the viewer, the person watching right now, all of you who are watching, the first question I ask is, was Justin Rounds, the father of Dylan Rounds, was Justin Rounds at the barbecue, the Memorial Day weekend one in Montello? Yes or no? I'll say that one more time. Was Justin Rounds at the Memorial Day weekend barbecue in Montello? Okay. In my opinion, I wouldn't say so because I've not heard it before. And as well, Justin does live in a different place, so he's got his own life and other things going on. So there wouldn't be a need to go to that barbecue, especially if Dylan isn't going either. Dylan's working on his own stuff, on his farm, on the day. He's too preoccupied with that. Why would Justin Rounds, the father, go to the barbecue when he knows his son isn't? Doesn't quite make sense, does it? So I would say you could put that aside unless I'm missing something. The next question is, do you believe Kurt Wadsworth did have Dylan's key fob? Yes or no? And if so, do you believe Kurt Wadsworth was responsible for returning it back? Okay, leave your thoughts. Anything else? Right, next question I have. Do you believe Kurt's daughter, Taylina, is responsible in some way for Dylan's disappearance? An add-on question. Do you believe that Taylina, Kurt Wadsworth's daughter, knows something or witnessed something and she is keeping things quiet because it ties in with Kurt Wadsworth? So like defending him because it's family. Do you think that's the situation? Final question. Do you think Kurt's daughter truly threatened Ellen Berg? Yes or no? Feel free to respond to any, if not all of those questions down below. I know some people could write Joy Perry off, but it's worth questioning. If more and more people come out with similar information, it might be seen as more believable, right? So it's the first I've heard of this. Bear in mind, I've not had the time to look at Kurt Wadsworth interviews and some of the other ones on Duty Run, etc., because of time-related issues. Because obviously, people that watch videos but don't create, they can watch them all, but they don't have time to create videos themselves for most part of it. Whereas in my case, I'm creating all these videos, but I don't have time to watch others. So you got to understand, like, give and take, right? Right. So with all that in mind, is there any more? Okay. It continues. Joy Perry says, because they're looking for answers of what happened to Dylan Rounds, and I grant you, Don Hately and Werner will tell Vic Kurt was involved. Also, they're not going to go down by themselves. David says, do you really think this is the place for your speculation? So this person called Joy starts coming out with names I've not heard before. Who is Werner? The only time I heard Werner was a German football player who is, I think, playing in the World Cup in Qatar 2022. So do any of you know who Werner is? Do any of you know who Vic Kurt? Is that another person, or is it two separate names? I don't know. This individual is appearing a little bit incoherent now, which is unfortunate. Let's continue on. Joy Perry responds saying, why is everybody protecting Kurt Wadsworth? Is he king of Montello? Thank God Black Dove is not protecting Kurt. Watchers like everybody else is. Robin says, right, this guy isn't even making sense. So the bit about where it's saying, why is everybody protecting Kurt Wadsworth? That's not exactly true. You look online, you look at the viewers, and quite a lot of people are talking about Kurt in a negative way in terms of who's defending Kurt Wadsworth. As said, people were saying Salty Pancakes was. Anybody else? Not too sure. As for Ty Corbyn, where does Ty Corbyn stand in all of this? I'll say it now. Apologies if I'm late. If Ty Corbyn is present in the live chat, welcome. If you want to share your opinions, responses to any of the information presented beforehand or the talks and suggestions, feel free to do so. If you want to clear anything up and if you have time, feel free to leave a comment, okay? In addition, from what's been said in a previous video of mine in the live chat, and it tied in line with one of my suggestions, the time of when Ty's house or building was broken into, his second place, which is his alpaca farm, described as with 0 alpacas, quoted from Salty Pancakes. When the door was kicked in and the place was not ransacked, more just destroyed and smashed up, right? And the door kicked in. I said Kurt Wadsworth could have been responsible or someone associated as like a warning, a threat. And Ty Corbyn in the live chat mentioned about Kurt Wadsworth being responsible in some way. So it's one of those things where both online, offline, there's all these different ties, connections, but also grudges and negative encounters. It seems to be endless, right? I don't know if I'll do a poll now. Maybe I can do a quick one. Do you think Kurt Wadsworth is innocent or guilty, right? Feel free to respond to that in the poll, because then we can get an idea of how many people are defending him and how many people aren't, right? I mean, it's not illegal to defend someone if you truly believe they're innocent. I mean, arguably speaking, you could be maybe biased if you know them, if you like the person, you might defend them regardless. But as we've seen with Don Hately and Jim Brenner, despite being longtime friends, Don Hately threw Brenner under the bus to protect his own self. So anything is possible, right? Arguably as well, some humans can be a little bit delusional and naive and look up to people who turn out to be corrupt, dark, and negative. So that's also possible as well. In terms of my opinion, I'd say Kurt Wadsworth probably plays a role in some way. Maybe not completely direct, but there is some kind of dodginess and darkness going on. If the likes of Brenner, who is one of the main suspects in the case, ends up handing over his horse to Taylina and Kurt Wadsworth, despite Kurt Wadsworth being kind of protective of Dylan at times and being saddened maybe by his disappearance and, being connected in some way because they did hang out in the past, if that's honestly the case and Kurt Wadsworth at the time knows about Brenner possibly being the main suspect for taking his friend away, then why would Kurt be happy to accept something from Brenner, such as the horse? You wouldn't want to accept a gift from a murderer, right? You don't want to accept something from someone who's taken something from you away, which would be the friend, Dylan, because arguably speaking, Kurt Wadsworth and Dylan Browns were friends at some point, and yet Dylan's been taken away. Kurt, you'd think, have been hurt, and then finds out Brenner's responsible. It'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. But okay, thanks for giving me the horse. Thanks, we'll have fun now. That's what's weird, right? That communication, that cooperation, that giving and receiving type behaviour from Brenner to Kurt and it being accepted despite Brenner being the one. Unless it happened before things got out and the news spread, and that might be why the horse was sold and sent to Idaho Falls. Maybe Kurt Wadsworth and Taylina heard about Brenner getting sent down or being arrested, at least sent to custody, and then Kurt felt disgusted that he received a gift off Brenner and thought, I don't want this horse, it reminds me of Brenner and what he's done to my friend Dylan. I'm going to sell this horse and get rid of it for good. Unless that was the outcome and that's why the horse was sold. There's different ways of looking at it. Let me know which one you agree with more. That Kurt Wadsworth and Taylina are responsible and did receive the horse as some kind of gift, almost like blood money. Or do you think Kurt Taylina eventually found out about Brenner and what he's done, and that's why they sold the horse, because they didn't want any reminders of Brenner and what he's done? Let me know down below. Right. On here as well, it says, thank God Black Dove is not protecting Kurt. Now, Black Dove, we're seeing him here and now. Quite a few people respect Black Dove. Black Dove is supposedly from Florida. Now, is that a big piece of news? No. Is it public information? Well, yes, because Black Dove admitted it himself in one of the videos. He said he's a nerd as well, into computers, whatever. But over time, Black Dove may have appeared mysterious at one point, appeared to know a lot, to be quite intelligent as well. In recent time, though, he seemed to have gone quiet. In a way, he seemed to have disappeared, though maybe he's sought refuge in other people's live streams and live panels because he started doing that on some. Maybe it was the Shack Lady, maybe it's No Thanks at some point, it's hard to tell. But he's gone a bit quiet since, and some people have wondered where he is. Black Dove has appeared level-headed with time. He never did anything bad towards me, like he didn't cause any trouble. If there was a bit of misinformation, he would correct it formally without criticising, so that's to be respected. I don't know if Black Dove is present since or not. I'm sure Black Dove changed his name, didn't he? Can't remember what it was to. Interestingly, you've got another individual called White Dove. Shout out to them who are a member on my channel. Hope they're doing okay. And then I'm sure there's another dove somewhere. There's a couple of doves, which is a bit interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that. Have any of you seen Black Dove since? Now, as far as Julie goes, some of you will know, Julie was once a viewer on this channel, but also participated in other live stream chats such as No Thanks and Tyler Feller back then. Supposedly she has gone missing since, right? I heard from her for a bit and then she went completely quiet and silent. She was ill at the time. Recent updates have suggested that she is okay and is present in other live stream chats away from the Dylan Rounds case and community, unless it's a fake account. You never know. But she seems to be active, present, but she is strayed away from the Dylan Rounds case, which is interesting. Maybe it's just to get a breather, to get away from it. Understandable. Quite a few people have done that with time, and I think more people will follow down the line because it is a stamina game. It's a mental game, trying to process all the information, trying to balance it, trying to hold it all in one palm or two and make sense of it. And then all the confusion, the derailments, the misinformation, the threats, the confusion, everything. It can be a complete disaster at times. That is why sometimes you need a catalyst. You need someone who has balance, because not everyone can do that. And, you know, other people are very busy and doing other things in between. And then there'll be, on top of that, other additional factors going on behind the scenes, which might not be able to be controlled. So when stuff like that happens, that's why people might take a break. So it all makes sense, right? So, is there any more photos? Okay, here's another one. Right. Kevin responds to Joy saying, I think this isn't a place for your nonsense. Anthony says, is that like a grave dug in the back? That's referring to the photo, which we'll get to shortly. Paula says, sending love and prayers to Justin and all the family. Right, okay. And now we move on to the most important piece of material, the actual photo taken. Now, as we saw by Rita, I think it was, in the comment section, asking about the date of when the picture was taken, Justin did not reply. So there will be a few questions I'll put forwards in this analysis right now. Apologies if the screen size is a little small. Understandably, it was taken kind of like vertical, not horizontal, so it doesn't fill the full screen. But don't worry, shortly I'll show you a side-by-side direct comparison and you'll get a better feel of things. For now, I just want to use the magnifying glass and hover about to see if anything stands out, right? You know, this could have been taken like around the time Dylan went missing, right at the start. Or it could have been taken just recently when out with Equisearch due to the timing of that post, which was earlier today, 4 hours before that, based off time zone. So it would have been dark, probably nighttime, I think, with the time zone. But yeah, let's just put that aside. I'll try and use the magnifying glass. Hopefully you can kind of make sense of it. If not, as said, we'll get a clearer image shortly. But basically, if I just put this away, once again, what we're looking at is the grain shed, looking into it, okay? We have seen it before, but the difference is it's very dark here, so you'd assume it's nighttime. So what is someone doing here in the middle of the night? Is it because of a long late night search, returning back to this location? Or is it the night time of the 30th or after that, approaching June when they were starting to look for Dylan? I don't know. But the only difference is this time, aside from the lighting, literally, is this person, whoever it is inside of their vehicle, looking through the front window. I don't know, I think they're in the driver's seat as well. The vehicle has its lights on beam or whatever, looking into the grain shed, and someone's taken a photo. Why would they take a photo? That's the question. What's the point of it? Now, as we hover about, if I can get it on, oops, there we go, apologies. Right here, there is a baseball cap. I can't quite read what it says. I think it begins with a P. It's definitely not a John Deere cap, it's a different one. Now, from what Graham said, despite Graham supposedly having a problem with my channel, Graham pointed out on another channel saying that this cap is of a trucker's, what a trucker would wear. That may well be the case. It kind of has that visual look. Now, would it be Justin Rounds? I don't directly know what Justin Rounds does for his job. We know Don Hately was a truck driver in the past. So it sounds a bit weird. Could this be a photo taken by Don Hately in the past and it's been sent to Justin Rounds to taunt him? Or it was retrieved off someone's phone? You know what I'm saying? If this cap is of a trucker and Don Hately was a truck driver, then maybe he kept it with him. And maybe he assisted with Brenner in disposing of Dylan in some way. And then the photo was retrieved at some point and then given to Justin Rounds. That would be one way of looking at it. Bear in mind, I don't know the full context behind this photo, so all I can do is assume and come up with theories and ideas, and then it's for possibly viewers or key people with key resources to come in and either strengthen and re-establish these thoughts and ideas as facts, or to clear them up if it's misinformation. Okay, so that is welcome. So aside from that trucker's hat, it being on the dashboard of the vehicle, I don't know if you can quite see, but there's like a thin line going across the screen. Can you see? Thin line. Now that is a crack in the window screen. Why would there be a crack in the window screen? Some previous people were bringing up a theory of, oh, maybe someone dived on it, jumped on it, and it's like, well, what do you mean? Do you mean that Dylan was ran over, and as the car ploughed into Dylan, Dylan rolled up the bonnet and made impact with the window screen, which caused a slight crack? Or I think there was another theory where people were saying some guy went up to the windscreen and punched it. If that's the case, how does that tie in with this photo? What, is the person taking the photo whilst someone's on the outside punching the window screen? Or did that confrontation happen in the past and it's remained as a scar on the vehicle because the person either can't afford to get it repaired or they don't think it's necessary because the window still holds up? I'm not quite sure. I think what we've got to understand that with Dylan Round's truck, the Ford F-150, the burgundy one, that sustained damage in the past. You look at the front bumper, it's caved in the middle. People thought that could have been used to mow down the gate of the grain shed, or it was used on Dylan and ran him over, which caused the damage to the vehicle. But Candice Cooley cleared it up previously and said it was because of reversing, or, well, not reversing because it's on the front, driving into a post elsewhere, different occasion, not related to the disappearance. So if that can be cleared up, maybe the same can be cleared up with this vehicle, whoever is behind it and whoever is responsible for causing it, the damage, right? So yeah, that's worth taking in mind. Now, also, why did someone take a photo of this grain shed inside the car? Why not get out the car, get up closer to the grain shed and then take a photo? Why were they reluctant to get out? I don't quite understand, unless it was a quick visit or they weren't allowed inside. Now, we look at the surrounding area. We can determine what's new, what's old, what's changed and what hasn't. We can do that shortly with the side-by-side comparison. The side here appears to be a gate. You see that metal thing that's propped up on the side? That looks similar to that gate there, which is stood up on the side. Back there, hopefully this is clear for you to see. Back there is like a mound of dirt, which we have seen before. Now you can leave your own thoughts and opinions to whether you think that dirt mound is bigger in this photo compared to previous photos we've looked at, or if you think it's the same exact size. If the dirt mound was bigger here, it could suggest this photo is much older compared to Salty Pancake's visit out there, if you remember. Anything else? I mean, you got some white bag there in front. At the back, you got some small box on the ground. Then you've got that like bookshelf there with some objects resting on the shelves. You got a few boxes on the ground, red one, blue one. You can't see much rubbish at the moment. You've got a chair here, a white one, with, I think that's another chair or stool. Back there is a small table. What else do we have? Some stuff going on there. I don't know what that black thing is. I don't know if it's a motor, a battery, I'm not too sure. You got that red shelf over that way. And then round the back of there, you probably would have that little workstation, if you remember, with some bits and bobs on it. You got some white thing there. And then in terms of, is that another like little stool? Is that a stool? That black thing? I'm not too sure. And then when you look on the ground, someone was saying there was a spring, a big spring right in the middle of that magnifying glass. I'm not too sure, to be honest. It just looks like a shadow of the whole. And bear in mind, shadows will emerge when there is light shone upon a dark room. You see, the vehicle has its lights on, the lights go into the grain shed, but in the angles where it's darker, you can see the shadows, and that can exaggerate things and objects and make it seem like there is something else there when it's not, or it's misinterpreted as something else. So that was just a little quick look zoomed in. Now let's do a closer, more direct side-by-side comparison. Right, so here we are. I tried piecing them up together as close as possible in comparison in terms of the camera angle, the zoom level, and whether it be centered to the left side of the shed or the right. So hopefully it's kind of similar. Bear in mind, one's taken inside more, the other one's taken inside of a vehicle slightly further back, I guess. In terms of whose pick is who, I did label it briefly down below. JR means Justin Rounds. SP means salty pancakes. From what I know of, at least, salty pancakes, the picture on the right hand side was taken by Salty Pancakes himself when he did visit the grain shed and the surrounding area on a past visit like 1 to 2 months ago. Maybe it was a bit longer than that, but that's when it occurred. On the left, I call it Justin Rounds just because that's where the photo came from, Justin Rounds' profile on Facebook. I'm not directly saying this photo was taken by Justin Rounds, but like that's where the photo came from, you know, where it first emerged on Facebook. If you know any additional information or any corrections, that's welcome down below. So just quickly to start off with in the chat, what do you think? Which photo do you think came first? The one on the right or the one on the left? Let me know. As we know, with Heavy D's recent interview, maybe like a week or two ago with Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, they were actually situated in the grain shed, as you see on screen. They did have some chairs out, you know, to do an interview and to sit down and relax. And as you see on the left-hand side, there seems to be some objects scattered about. So was that recently done? Was that as the result of Heavy D, the crew, the family getting together and doing an interview? And that's why they moved some objects around, possibly. If that's the case, then it would mean that photo on the left is and has been taken very recent, which could arguably tie in with the whole Equisearch stepping in a couple of days ago, assisting Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds in Lucin with the wash. They might have found something in the wash, or they found a new lead. It directed him back to the grain shed, or maybe Justin Rounds returned back to the grain shed for to catch up or to take a photo so then he could post this online. I don't know. You know, there's endless possibilities at this moment in time. I do feel at some point it will be cleared up and I can do an update video Even if it isn't exciting, but if it means tying up loose ends, I will make an update video in the future, okay? So that will be under control. Understandably, as said, even though there might be some video projects still to do, if there are updates in between, it might alter those videos ahead. I might have to change how I cover it, or I might not have to cover it at all. It depends how this evidence and how this progression goes in the case overall. So hopefully you understand that. So yeah, let me know what you think of these photos. I know some other channel tried doing a comparison, comparing them two together, but it wasn't as direct, it wasn't as close up. This is as close up as you can get. And I wanted to just get the correct angle. And the reason why I can do this is because I've got extensive depth when it comes to Kenny Veach, matching every rock, every crack, every crescent, every bit of texture, material, every possible cave in comparison to one another to determine, is it similar? Has it changed with time? Has it been altered with? I've been all about the whole altering of one's environment because I saw it extensively within the Mojave Desert, and it's very prevalent right now. It's evident, you can see. Obviously, you've got to understand the timing of it. One could come before the other, you know. That's what you got to understand. It could be either the one on the left was way back in the past, and then with time, all that junk was taken out, whether it be the spring cleaning or not, if that ties in or not, which led to it being a bit more sparse and open on the right when pancakes eventually came. Or it could be interpreted as, you know, it appeared however it did way back in the past. Pancakes came along after the spring cleaning, because that's the truth. There's less stuff in there, obviously, things missing because of the crime scene and police taking away evidence such as the grain truck and other bits and bobs, as well as Brenner taking his own stuff away during the spring cleaning, and that's how it looks. So, different ways of looking at it, or the situation with Heavy D, as I said, putting items inside the grain shed whilst conducting the interview. Now, let's just try and look at what's the same. If we look on the right-hand side, you see that bookshelf? There's kind of two. One intact, and then the one on the right, by the side of it, in between those brown panels, a knackered one. Ground level, you've got a red box with an S symbol on it. And then on the left-hand side, far left-hand side of that right picture, near the bookshelf at the bottom, you've got some brown box. If we compare that to this side, you can clearly see you've got the bookshelf. On the right-hand side of the bookshelf, you've got a knackered bookshelf. Lower ground level, you've got that red box with the S, another box next to it, the blue one. And then on the far left-hand side, on the ground near the main bookshelf, you got that little red box as well. So that all checks out. That's all the same. You got that brown panel there, which is also present in Pancake's picture here, as you can see. Now, back there, because it does go round into the corner, we can't see that. It's hard to tell. But there appears to be a table still back there, just like how there is back here. Okay? Does that make sense so far? As for the actual roofing and walls, you can't quite compare because on the left one it's very dark and it's hard to see. On the right one it's lighter, but it still looks virtually the same, the actual structuring of it. Anything else we can look at? Ground level of Salty Pancake's photo, you can quite clearly see a gap. That is light coming through from the outside. Now, that might be because the ground's been dug away or there's been that trench around the outside of the grain shed for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure, but you can see that there. You can't see the gap though here, can you? And that's with the light shining. You thought it might have had a dark patch, right? Do you know, right at the bottom down there near that red box, you thought there would have been a line, a black line going all the way across because it's exposed, it's bare. It's got that gap which goes through onto the outside surrounding. When you compare it down there, You can see it's white and green because that's looking outside. So I don't know if that's been altered with since. Do you know what I'm saying? Unless it's because it's night time and it's too dark to be able to look through that gap. But it just looks like it's filled in. It actually looks like it goes to the ground level, the wall or the dirt. Whereas this, it's clearly missing. So that's one difference I've noticed so far. Is there any other similarities though? This red box here, I think it could be a chicken coop. I may be wrong. It's just because of the shaping of it. It's like a small shed. It's got a little door on the side, and it looks similar to the one at Brenner's property. Well, his former place of living in Montello, the one that burnt down. Okay, so you got that. And it's also present here in this photo too. So that's not changed. We'll get to the hole at the end, okay? Now, let's look at the differences. Bear in mind, there might be a couple of things I've missed off or you can't quite see on the images, but bear in mind, when you're doing a side-by-side comparison, you can only fit so much on the screen. Well, at least with what I'm using in terms of the editing tools. But take in mind, the important stuff is on screen, right? That's what I made sure to ensure, okay? So one thing that is definitely missing is we just zoom in on here. You see that white bag, whatever it is, next to that standing fence or gate, that white bag, whatever is in there is not present in Salty Pancake's footage. And you can actually look at his video, or you can look at the Glorien, whatever, exploration video. Sorry, I can't remember the bloody person's name, but some woman that was there with Pancakes and some other guys. Basically, that white bag was not there in the corner. Not in Pancakes, but it's present in this photo. So that's one key thing missing. I don't know what it could be. You can leave your thoughts down below. Now, closer to the screen, almost in the middle, on Justin Round's photo, we'll call it, Justin Round's post, you look right there, right in the middle of the screen, it appears that you have a white chair, a wooden small chair, possibly, and a wooden table, few buckets on the ground too. You look here, yes, you've got those white buckets there. As for the table is here. It's been put aside, and there is either wood or cardboard on the floor. As for the white chair is here. Can you see? On the right hand side of the screen, up against that black box. It's tucked away. It's neatly put back. Do you see? You see the difference? On the left hand side, it's scattered about. It's all just dumped in the middle. I said the table, the wooden chair, and the metal chair. It's stuck out. And then on Salty Pancake's footage, it's all neatly put to one side. So which order does it follow in? Is this all stuck out because it's when Heavy D did the interview with Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds most recently in the grain shed? Because they were sat down and they probably had to pull items out to say, right, we'll put the seating arrangement there, we'll set the camera up here, set the tripod up and begin recording. And maybe after that, they forgot to put the items back. And then just recently, Justin Rounds returned back to here and took a photo. Do you see how I'm trying to understand the situation? So that's what I'm just trying to think. And if that's not the case, and this is a much older photo, then it's like, well, that would have been an obstruction, right? You know, if you're dating it back to when Dylan was parking the grain truck into the grain shed, then there's a lot of rubbish in the way. This is a massive obstruction. You'd have to move all of that to one side, as you see here, so there is enough room to actually park the truck in. Because you're going to be crashing into the bloody table and chair. So that's what would make me think this photo on the left is actually more recent than this photo on the right. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the way I see it. Let's just see if there's any more other objects. You see that black thing down there? I'm not quite sure what it is. It does have wheels attached to it on each side, and there seems to be either a pipe or cable that's attached to it that comes off and goes all the way up here and is balanced on top. And as well, I said you got these black boxes as well behind it, so I don't know what that is. Now, is it present in Salty Pancakes footage? It is. Different colour slightly, but that's just down to lighting and time of day. Put to the side, it's not really moved. Well, moved a little bit. You can see it. It's more greyish. Now, what would I say that looks like? Personally, it looks like a hosepipe reel. Basically, what you'd wrap a hosepipe around. You know, instead of having a hosepipe just flat out on the floor, spread out like a snake, you wrap it around on that reel. And then there'll be a handle on the other side which you can unwind the hosepipe. Does that make sense? That's what I think it could be. And it kind of makes sense because I know I don't know if this is more to do with Justin Round's place of living or actually at the grain shed, but I know Candice Cooley said Justin Rounds would use a hosepipe either to wash down something, maybe his vehicle, the pressure washer, or he would use the hosepipe cable to connect to the washing machine. So maybe that could be linked there, possibly, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it just looks more neat, doesn't it? Neat on the right, a complete mess on the left. As for that hatch, that chicken coop if you want to call it, the door that's open is basically, kind of at the same angle as that. Bear in mind the photo was taken at a slight angle itself, so it might look a little bit different to one another, okay? As for the black boxes, as we saw back here, you can see two of them. One's lower down in front, and then one behind it is a little bit taller in height. There seems to be a tripod as well, or something. It's like there's legs stood on top of that black box. Can you see it? It looks like metal legs. Is that a tripod or a camera? I'm not quite sure. Looks a bit weird. We go on the right hand side, Salty Pancakes. Okay, that could be explained. I don't think it's a tripod. You can see those two legs on top. And to be honest, it looks more like maybe cables or pipe, not a tripod. You see how light can affect perception at times. The black box, the taller one, is behind it, as you can see, and then the black box in front of it is down here. It could well be a drawer, it could be a cupboard, I'm not quite sure, but it's in both photos, okay? So what is truly missing? Right. So it's evident that things have been moved around at some point or another. That's for certain. As for actual missing items, from what I can make out, okay. White bucket. Can you see that white bucket? When you look past the white chair, that white bucket with the blue label on it, I think that's missing from this photo, unless it's the one bottom right corner of the screen next to that black bucket, because it's not. Oh wait, no, there is a white bucket behind that black bucket in Justin Round's photo, and you can see the blue paint on it. So that remains. So that must mean this bucket here is a separate one, an individual one on its own. This bucket here with the blue patterns on it, whatever you want to call it, blueprint, is missing from this photo because there is no bucket present of the same colour. If we want to do a quick bucket count, we can. So in Salty Pancakes footage, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 if you count the one behind. About 5 buckets. How many buckets are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe one behind it would be 6. It's hard to tell because of the angling of it. Unless this bucket, the blue one, was moved behind and placed behind those 2 buckets here. That's a possibility. If not, it means there is 6 buckets in Justin Round's photo and only 5 buckets in Salty Pancake's photo over here. 6 on the left, 5 on the right. So I wonder why that was taken away. Was that by the police? I'm not too sure. But is there like any proper definitive missing items without question? Well, I can only say one thing, and it might not sound that special. This white bag there on the left-hand side, I'm sure that's not in the other one. I'm just trying to think to that other angle. I know on the left-hand side in Salty Pancake's footage, you had a bit of furniture or some kind of wooden stuff piled on top of one another, unless that white bag was underneath it, buried. It's kind of hard to tell. This is what I mean. It's a bit messy, the questioning, but it's live, it's on the spot. This is raw mindset, okay? Questioning everything, trying to think of every possibility, every object, every detail, what's missing, what isn't, what's been moved and what hasn't. So this is why it's a little bit different compared to my other videos, okay? Is there anything ground level that has changed? It's hard to tell because the one on the right by Salty Pancakes, that's more boots on ground, literally. Whereas the Justin Round's shot, heavily obstructed by this black dashboard of the vehicle and the bonnet, obviously, as well. So that makes it a bit hard to compare. Wait. Okay. Right. Okay, I've noticed one thing missing, right? Look at Justin Round's photo. You see that bookshelf there? That brown one stood up. You can see the objects on the shelf, can't you? Top shelf, there seems to be an object on the left-hand side of the shelf. And then on the right-hand side of the top shelf, there is another object. Then the second shelf below, you got some box or something on the left, and then 2 smaller items on the right. Third shelf, you've got nothing on the left, and then on the right hand side of the bottom shelf, you've got 2 smaller boxes of something. You compare it to Salty Pancakes, yes, you've got on the top shelf a box, an object on the left, and then 2 smaller things on the right. That checks out with Justin Round's photo. On the second shelf, you've got another box on the left, and then on the right, you've got 2 other objects. That seems to check out. And then on the bottom shelf, you have something on the left-hand side, another box. And then on the right-hand side of the bottom shelf, you've got 2 smaller objects. That's where the difference is. Look at the bottom shelf on the left-hand side of the bottom shelf. There is nothing there. Compare that to Salty Pancakes. There's clearly a box on the left-hand side of the bottom shelf. So that is missing from this photo. The only way you could question it is that, did it fall on the ground? Could I explain just behind the dirt mound? Because you can see a few like boxes or bits and bobs on the floor, can't you? As it's like an object creating some kind of shadowing behind the shelf. There's something back there, but that can be explained because look, you've got the same dodgy objects on the ground behind that dirt mound just in front of the bottom shelf. So that's not changed. So quite clearly, that box or that object on the bottom shelf on the left-hand side is missing from this photo of Justin Round's, which was or could have been taken recently. Okay? So that seems to have disappeared. Is there any ladders? Anything else that's changed? You've got that wooden panel still at the back. Problem is here, that table obstructs the view behind compared to when you look here, because when you look there, you've got some blue objects and some other bits of paper and trash on the ground, so I can't quite compare that there. You got a red thing, very small red thing on that black box. Can you see it? Very small red circular thing. That's Salty Pancake's picture. And it's also present here as well. But one thing that is missing, which I've just noticed, in Justin Round's photo on the left-hand side, near that red ball or whatever you call it, look towards or look above it. So you're looking at that black box, the second black box, which is behind this small black box, and look on top. There's nothing there, really. Visualize that and compare that to Salty Pancakes. You got some like red bucket or red thing which is resting on that table. That doesn't seem to be present in this photo, does it? It's not on the ground. So where's it been taken? I'm not too sure. It's missing. Now, maybe it was taken away, maybe it was thrown away, maybe it was thrown in the background, who knows, because this was resting on the table, and if that table, which has moved to here now from there, it was resting on it, so they probably just moved it aside. Is there anything else? Final thing before we get onto the hole itself. You see this wooden table? Not wooden table. You see this wooden chair? Can you see it? What's that white thing balanced on it, on the seat? Is it a trough? Is it a box? Is it... It looks like an oval, half of a cylinder. It does look like a trough in my mind. Maybe it was for the horse. Do you know what it is? Can you explain it? It doesn't appear in this photo from the looks of it. So maybe that is missing as well. Right. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Bear in mind, different lighting. One has more shadows than the other. One's taken at night time, the other one's taken during the day. And also we don't know the exact date of the left-hand photo when it was taken. Hopefully someone can answer it after this video has finished in the comments section, okay? Right. Should we have a brief look at the hole itself? So, I will show you another picture of the hole shortly, but we'll just use the ones what we've got on screen for now because that's where the comparison is at. Unfortunately, we don't have a before or after shot of the hole up close. We only have one, and that's from Pancakes himself. So, I can't do a comparison there. But we'll still take a look. So, left-hand side, Justin Round's photo. We zoom in as close as we can get. When you look at that, you got to take in mind the shadow of it. It can superimpose it, it can exaggerate it. But in terms of first-time impressions, when looking at that, at first I was thinking, is the dirt mound bigger than in Salty Pancakes? But I don't think it isn't. I think it's the same height. But what does appear different is the length of it. It looks fairly long. In terms of your rough estimations in the chat, you as a viewer, do you think it's longer here compared to Pancakes footage here? Or do you think it's equal length? If you think it's longer, do you think it's within the 5'10" range to be able to dump a body into the ground? Let me know your thoughts. Bear in mind, it doesn't have to be 5'10" in height or length. Well, the length of the hole, right? I don't know about the depth, because you can scrunch a body up. You put a body in what is it called? Fetal position. Is that a dodgy position or not? I can't remember. But scrunched up almost in a ball, cradling. You know, if someone was to cradle themselves in a corner, If you scrunched somebody up, then that significantly reduces the length of the hole, doesn't it? Especially useful if a person is very tall. You've got a 7-foot person, let's say, you don't want to be digging a 7-foot long hole, right? No, you'll scrunch them up. You might even chop them up. Who knows? It depends how dark things get. Now, I think what I would say, no, do you know what? Before I get to that, what some people have previously said, that they were saying that the ground looks moist, it looks wet, it looks damp. I don't know if that's the case. If that was true, then what? Was this photo taken very fresh when Dylan was just disposed of? If the ground has just been messed with? And why would it be wet when it's inside protected from the rain? Unless there is a drip, a leak from above, a hole in the roof, which causes rain to trickle down, land on the ground and make it a little bit wet. That's possible. If that's the case, we've got to try and understand, when did it last rain? Okay? I think someone said it rained on a Sunday when Dylan went missing, round about then. Well, if that's the case, this photo taken by Pancakes, which was months on after Dylan's disappearance, the ground looks pretty dry, because I think it didn't rain from then till up to this point when this photo was taken. So that would explain to why it's dry, right? One way of looking at it. Where does it look most moist? Well, you've got a dump. You've got like a dollop of darker brown stuff. Can you see? It's in the centre of the screen, just below that red box. It just looks darker. A small patty of dirt, if you want to call it that. Now, this is possibly where the trickery and perception conflicts with one another, okay? I would suggest that if you think that the dirt mound here appears bigger than the one in Salty Pancakes, then you might also think that the length is longer here than in Salty Pancakes. And that if in Salty Pancakes it's still the same height, the only difference is here is you've got that black outline, the shadow of the mound, which makes it look a little bit taller in inches compared to Pancakes, then the same could apply to the length, the shadow of it. When you look at the shadow, not of the mound, but of the little ridge here, why is that shadow created? Why is it casted? Is it because it goes down into a hole? Arguably, yes, because there is a hole right there. But why does the shadow line go longer than the actual hole? That's what we're trying to understand. Like, you can't be blamed if you thought this looks like an open grave. You got the dirt mound on the side, and then in front of it, it just drops down into a grave, a hole. That is a possibility. We already know a hole is there, but it's trying to understand, is it bigger here compared to the one in Salty Pancakes? That's what we've got to try and understand. Okay? Let's zoom in on this one. When you look here, the angling of it, and you could say the quality too, it doesn't even look like there is a hole, right? It literally looks like a mound just near the shelf, and then in front of it, it looks flat. Doesn't even look like a hole is present, but there is. And it's like, it's right in the centre of the screen there, but it's hard to tell because of the quality and the angle. This is what I mean. The angle of a photo can transform how someone perceives it, right? You do it at a slight angle, a slight different elevation, height, or you lower it down, and some things can just disappear in the shot when it's still present, and that's just because of the angle you took it from. That's where it gets a little bit confusing, so that's why we got to maintain balance as we go throughout this video, just so we don't fall off the deep end, right? What I will transition onto now temporarily is a different angle of Salty Pancakes footage of the hole up close, right? We'll look at that, then we'll link back to this photo of Justin Rounds and try and come to maybe possible conclusion or a temporary one, okay? Right, I have the photo at my disposal now. So what I want you to do is focus in on the dirt mound down here, which is Salty Pancake's photo, okay? Just look at the ground in front of the dirt mound and visualize that for a second, okay? Now, this is what it looks like up close when you're looking down at it. Okay, does that make sense? Dirt mound, as you can see from that angle. Dirt mound, as you can see from basically the same angle. Dirt mound back here, as you can see. Doesn't look that impressive, doesn't look that big, but then again, the hole itself isn't that big, so that justifies the small mound of dirt for this small hole. Now you see bits of dirt, you got some like little chunky bits that have broken off, whatever that might be. It could be roots, it could be random vegetation, just clumps of dirt that's stuck together. Can any of you visually interpret it as any disturbance, any water? Does the ground here look moist, wet in any shape or form? In my opinion, it looks very dry and crumbly. You know what I'm saying? As for the surrounding area, the radius of that hole, for most part of it, it's just dirt and dirt. But, take a look here. What do we have here? We have bits of stone, we have bits of wood, splinters, the odd little can right at the bottom of the screen. It's just like bits of wood, small bits of wood scattered about. The only thing that interests me is it's like it's been brushed aside all the way around. Do you see how it's almost like circular or half of a circle? All that bits of gravel and wood. It's like formed a wall surrounding part of that hole. So it's like it's been brushed aside and then someone started digging into the ground, right? You look at that hole, there isn't really much in there, is there? Not much seems to show. Though, it might not be anything, but what's that white thing sticking out of the ground? Is that a bone? I mean, if it was, I'm sure Salty Pancakes would have seen it and alerted someone, right? I mean, even if people wanted to throw in the accusation that, oh yeah, Pancakes is responsible for making that hole in the first place. Well, clearly not, because, you know, this photo, let's just say from Justin Rounds, dates back to the past. Back then it can't really explain that Pancakes was responsible. And as well, just to throw it in, and you can contest it if you want, or if you feel strongly that you can, but some viewers have said that this hole here was created by the FBI as there was some kind of body fluid found in this spot. Maybe Dylan was taken out, attacked in the grain shed. Possibly. Caused blood loss, which seeped into the ground, and that's why they dug it up to check for soil samples, maybe. From what the shack lady has said just in most recent time, along with Ranger and some other individuals, they were saying that significant evidence was found in this spot. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know what information they're exactly referring to, because what you've got to take in mind, realistically, not bullshitting, there is a hierarchy of information and it's drip fed through the system. The people that receive information last are the viewers. The people that receive information first are not exactly the family at all times, but some of the content creators that might have contacts or little resources behind the scenes, and they communicate with one another. That's why they've got the panels. And you could say, well, no shit, that's how it is and that's how it's constructed. But I've noticed some things, which I won't say, but it's like they'll know first and then if it's acceptable, if it's allowed, they'll drip feed some of it through. Kind of like what Candice Cooley has done herself. What I've got to understand is when you look back at Heavy D's interview with Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, when it came to the discussion about certain suspects, backgrounds, what they were doing, where they were at, certain evidence found, they said, oh, we don't know about that. Oh, no, we don't know that. Oh, I can't remember that. I've never heard of that before. And yet, certain content creators and YouTubers online have supposedly talked about this before Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds even knew, and it's supposedly real information. So you kind of understand the dynamics that in this case, compared to all the other normal cases, you could say, it's outsiders that are receiving information before the actual family, possibly, unless the information what other people receive first is just bullshit. Who knows? But I want to know your thoughts on that. Do you think there is a hierarchy within the Dylan Rounds case? And I'm not talking about suspects. I'm talking about how information is processed and collected and then, published. Do you think there's a hierarchy there in some way or another? Feel free to let me know. But yeah, supposedly significant evidence found in this spot in the grain shed where the hole is. Possibility. I mean, it has been dug for a reason. It isn't exactly deep, nor is it big when looking at it from here, so it can't be a body, but it could be, as I said, like the body fluids, blood that seeped into the ground. Dylan was taken out in this spot, but he was moved possibly to the wash. That could explain to why Candice Cooley has been so fixated on the grain shed where she said, this is where it all happened. This is where it all took, this is where the event occurred, inside here. And this is the hole where Dylan's blood seeped in. And now we're obsessed about the wash because that's where we believe Dylan was taken to, hence the track marks, which are of Dylan's truck, which have gone to the wash. So, it's kind of tying in line with my full reconstruction of how events followed. The only thing I missed out on, possibly, was exactly where Dylan was taken out, the grain shed. Though I think I did briefly touch upon it, saying Dylan might have gone inside and then might have been ambushed. I think I did very briefly mention that possibility, so I'm not too far off. But, you've got to acknowledge there could be twists and turns and other kinds of very dodgy stuff that might occur after this video. You've got to understand that, okay? It'll either go one of two ways, the way I see it. There'll either be more weird twists and turns and maybe darkness, or it might be a, rollercoaster situation. There's not much to this. That's a bit disappointing. And then it's like, where do we go from here? Well, don't worry. I still have videos to cover. If this video, if this finding, if this post is debunked, resolved, a dead end, then it still means I can do my other videos and look at those possibilities. So there is always options up to a certain time limit, okay? So, you've looked at that hole whilst I've narrated. You've analysed it in your mind. Do you think anything is present here? Do you think that's a bone? Yes or no? This photo, at least we know it was taken it's a part of a video of Pancakes, which I think might have been deleted. I know the Shack lady had a photo of some of this footage, but it was very blurry because that was from Pancake's live stream, in which the quality was very bad. But Pancake's actual published video was much clearer and more defined. As for the Glorindale, Glorenheim, Glorin, whatever you call woman, shout out to them because they did allow me to use their footage if ever in the future. She did record inside of the grain shed the same time Pancakes was present, unless Pancakes went on multiple occasions, unless it was all done in one day. I'm not too sure. But she didn't quite record the same angle as Pancakes did. So that's why I used Pancakes footage still to this day. Okay? So credit to Pancakes as well. He originally allowed me to use the footage. I was lucky enough to get a hold of it before it was deleted or privatised for, I guess, safety reasons at that time, maybe. But yeah, nevertheless, there you go. That's the hole. You look at the depth. You look at the wall of the hole. It's quite smooth, isn't it? Now, one thing you got to do as well, when you're looking at that hole and you look at the surrounding wall radius of that hole, is there any skid marks? Is there any like scrape marks where a shovel would have been pressed up against the side of that radius and, you know, stuck down into the ground to dig up more dirt? Does that make sense? It looks very smooth, doesn't it? You can't see any scar marks or scrape marks of a tool being used unless it was only used on one side, which looks a bit more rough and rugged here, which you can't see because of the angle. And I wonder what exact tool was used. But yeah, what I want to close with, if this image here is of a bigger grave, let's say this is of a bigger grave compared to this photo here, then if this photo here is like 2, maybe 3 months old when it was taken, when does this photo date back to? Much before that. If it was much before that, then why would they re-dig it up again? You know, I'm basing it off if that's a bigger grave, a bigger hole compared to this hole, why would they dig it back up? Wouldn't they have found what they were looking for in the past? You know? As for if this was most recent, the same could apply then. Why have they just gone back to dig it back up? Did Justin do it? Did someone else do it? Okay, maybe the FBI dug up the hole in the first place and got something, but then did someone return back to dig it up more to try and find something? Was someone acting out? Like, who knows? Because Justin Rounds did break into Dylan's vehicle, smash into it, so maybe Justin Rounds has done something else reckless in between, maybe digging up a hole which has already been looked at because there is more to it than before. I don't know. This is what we've got to do, try and get to the bottom of the relevancy and the date, because Justin didn't respond to Rita's comment about the date of the photo taken. And we still don't know who exactly took the photo and whose truck and whose baseball cap it is, as we see on screen or as we saw on the previous photo. I would still say, to not go too far off the deep end, I would say the shadowing of the dirt mound and just in front of it exaggerates it and makes it look bigger than it actually is compared to this here, which with lack of lighting, it makes it look worse. Makes it look like there's no hole whatsoever. So you're getting two extremes, aren't you? From this angle with this lighting, it looks deep. Well, no, it looks long enough to store a body in. You could say it looks kind of deep when you look at the shadowing at the front of it where it drops down. So, and then here with worse lighting, makes it look like there's nothing there. There's no definition, and you've got to take this in mind on the spot, okay? So make sure you're listening. Like when it comes to taking photos of your body, for whatever reason, dodgy or not, if you've got good lighting, it can make you look more muscular. It can make you look a bit more defined. You know, if you've got the odd bit of definition on your arms, your shoulders, your chest area, depending what gender you are as well, it could cause a bit more depth and obstruction in the chest area. It could make it look a bit bigger than it is. I'm not criticizing anyone, okay? But with the shadowing, right? Because where it goes in, where there's a bit of depth to it, like with the abs, if you got the odd few lines going across and you use lighting, it can further enhance it. So it makes it look a bit darker. It creates a bit of depth. It shows it more. It makes it stand out more. Kind of like as you see in this photo here. Though, if you've got really bad lighting, it's very flat. There's no shadow effect. There's no nice colour tone. You look very washed out. You don't look defined whatsoever. You might even look a little bit fat when you're not. So lighting plays a big role. That's why when you see bodybuilders on stage posing, whichever gender, whichever competition, they'll put that weird stuff on them. I don't know if it's oil or a tan, and then they go underneath the spotlight to make it really exaggerative, but also really defined and concentrated. So it's the same with taking a photo of in the grain shed, and that's why you get two extremes. One where it looks deep and long, and this one where it looks flat and non-existent with the hole. And then you've got literally up close with natural lighting. So you can leave your thoughts down below regarding all of that. Okay, so that was a lot to digest. Probably the deepest video I've done so far. I'm not sure about the length of it. I haven't checked at this moment in time, but I will find out, you know. Hopefully you were able to follow along and process it. We're not done yet. Don't go anywhere, okay? We need to get down to the conclusion part and see if there's any unanswered or questions I need to bring up which I've not mentioned beforehand, okay? Hopefully the audio of everything followed as accordingly. And yeah, I guess we can just have a small little break now, I guess. Just like a quick 1 or 2 minute one, because I need to go and get something. Okay, I need to get another drink because there's no water left, man. I need blessings. I need to get some blessings right now. So just give me a minute. You can carry on talking in the live chat, share your ideas and thoughts, reactions to what's been shown, and then we'll resume very shortly. So just give me a second, Cam. I won't be long, man. Gonna be back soon. I'm not gonna get lost. Oh my God. Don't worry, man. Don't worry, man. You are safe. You don't need to worry. This is a takeover. I said I was going to appear on Warlike Raph's channel, and I meant it. I'm here now. It's all about me. I'm going to be talking about exactly what's going on. You know, whilst Raph is out there, it's my time to talk. It's been a while. You already know who I am. I don't even need to introduce myself. I'm amazing, man. I'm the best out there. I'm the best looking. I'm the best dressed. No one can compete with me. Not even these glasses. You know, it's a bit hard to breathe at times. I sound a bit asthmatic, but don't worry, all under control. Gotta confuse the mind, man. Gotta confuse everyone. As you can see, I'm in disguise. No one knows who I am. I'm mysterious. I'm the Night Stalker. I roam the dark, light and day. It does not matter. No one knows what I'm about. But I'll tell you something, man. You need to like this video. Exactly. Obviously, you can come to my channel and give me more likes, more views, and give me as many donations as possible. But, you know, I'm going to be generous. You know, aside from that $150 turkey giveaway and a computer being given out to someone, you can give some donations here. I'll be generous for once, don't worry. You can buy me a new hat whilst you're at it, because it's goodness, but I need a fresh one. I need a fresh look right now. You know what I'm talking about? I hope you can understand what I'm saying, so make sure to hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel. We're all about growing. We've got on all these different channels out there. We've helped people grow, and that's because of us. Me, you know? That's what we're all about. I'll tell you one thing, I could not see fuck all right now. These glasses are steamed up, man, because I could not breathe. It's creating condensation. Oh my God. Inside of this, it's like fucking climate change. Like global warming. I'm fucking warm inside this mess. I cannot breathe. So, let's take a minute, okay? If you're into betting, you're into sport, you want to do some fantasy football, I got the tips. I can sort you out. Don't worry. If you need any additional support, we're here to give it. So, what else is to talk about? Well, that's the funny thing. I think we can conclude with this channel. I think we can end this live video premiere right now, because it's more important that you move over to the other channel, mine, you know, where I'm in control. So, you know, I said I was going to take over. I said I was going to take all the views with me, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. What? What's that noise? Oh, something doesn't seem right. I know Raph has left. He's not coming back. You can assure that. He ain't coming back now. But I can hear some sound in the distance. It's almost like a field. Some kind of galloping sound. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh no. Wait, what's that? Oh my God. Oh my God. The fucking horse is attacking me. Get out. Oh my God, you stole my hat. My hat is no longer here. Boy, get up. Who the hell you think you are? I'm Mr. Triple X, man. I'm the discount version. Who are you? Some knockoff horse? You're a fake imitation. You know, you're almost as fake as Brookie. Oh my God. Take that, you stupid horse. Get away, man. Oh no, I've been compromised. I've been compromised, man. I think this is the end. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry about that. Took longer than expected. Now, I thought I could hear some kind of noise and commotion going on. Like, what's gone on in here since whilst I've been out? I don't know. Do any of you know in the chat? Let me know what you think. What's going on down here? The hell? It's like a battleground. Wait a minute. What am I looking at down there? Mr. X, what are you doing down there on the floor? Are you okay? You seem a little distressed. Well, don't worry. I am here. Let me just undo myself. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong type of video. Pardon me. Okay. So, Mr. X, I don't know why you've infiltrated this room, but don't worry, I'll sort you out. Jesus! Get that. You don't like that? Mr. X, run. Run. Yes, go over that way. You scuttle all over the place. You scuttling on the ground. Damnation. You are not getting any blessings today in the name of Jesus Christ. Fire! Everybody. Fire! You stay down there. Do not move. What was that? Huh? You're answering me back. Bit of an attitude. Bit of an attitude warrants another whip. Stay down, boy. Right, so what have we discovered? This is even more effective than the belt. It's got more whipping power behind it. It's got more of a slap behind it. And for once, I didn't even have to test it on myself. Oh, I'm so lucky. So, as well applies to any naughty people in the chat throughout this live premiere, because who knows what's gone on? Who knows who's watching? It could be a battleground. It could be chaos once again. But this should control it. So, bit out of breath, you know, all that whipping has made me tired. Not hungry though, okay? So, where do we go from here? Well, let's try and conclude this video. So, you saw Justin Rounds, what he had to say. Credit to the individual that gave the screenshot earlier on. They messaged me just before, and they said that there's been no update from Justin Rounds since, and there's been enough time from then till now for him to change his words or apologise or do something. So it's still in place from what we saw. Bear in mind, it could change later on at night. You got to think of time zone difference as well. Who knows what's going on now? Is anyone going to be awkward and report Justin Rounds for threatening behaviour? I don't think so. Most people will be in support of him, even if he does appear a bit negative, because he's entitled to, in a way. I don't know what Don Hatley thinks. Do you think Don Hatley knows about this? Do you think Don Hatley is aware that Justin is calling him out? And if that was the case, how do you think Don Hatley's family, or Don Hatley, his family, is responding to the potential threats? Leave your thoughts down below to what you think. So yeah, that was like the order, and you saw in the comment section some of the additional points he mentioned, calling out the gay son of Don's, and then like bring the whole family along. I don't know exactly what location in Lucin, almost like a battleground or elsewhere, some kind of confrontation. Will it be recorded on camera, or will it just die down and not happen and it was just simply a rumour, or someone gets a hold of their senses and tries to restrain themselves so they can still get justice for Dylan, because obviously that's still the important aim. So it's going to be interesting to see how things develop and play out. Also, you know, you saw the odd few comments by that, I forgot that person's name now, was it Glory or whatever the person's name is, I forgot the name, where they were talking about Kurt Wadsworth and Taylina being responsible, knowing something, and Ellenberg being threatened. Is that the case? I mean, Ellenberg's not said anything to me, or well, in general, they've just not said much in the chat. Maybe you might have heard it elsewhere. Okay, as said, I can only look at so much, right? So yeah, and then the photos as well of the barn, the grain shed, I should say, maybe before and after, or after and before, depending what order it follows in. So what do I think will happen next? Well, first of all, as for a conclusion, I would say that in terms of the grain shed, for most part of it, it's mainly items that have been moved about. There's not too much missing. As for the hole itself, it appears longer and possibly deeper in one photo over the other, but with the whole lighting discussion, I think it's the same size. And I think the reason why I'm going to stick with that is because people have said, viewers and some content creators, Shack Lady, have said some kind of substantial or important evidence has been found in that grain shed. I feel that could be the place where Dylan was hurt, taken out, led to some evidence within that place, blood, an object used to take Dylan out maybe. And then because of the whole search at the moment with EquiSearch and Candice Cooley and Justin probably at the wash, going to a wash, like how we looked in the previous video, that could explain to where Dylan could be. Hurt in the grain shed, knocked unconscious or fatally hurt, and then transported elsewhere to a wash, disposed of, right? I know quite a few people and even the family at one point were thinking it's right here, everything is right here, even Dylan's body, bury it on site. People saying maybe under the vehicle, maybe at Dylan's place of living under his truck, and that's why it's been pressure washed and it needs digging up, you know, obvious places. And sometimes it makes sense to why it might be at an obvious place, because it'd be the least likeliest of places you would think the person would be buried at. You know, sometimes when something is a bit too simple or a bit too easy, you doubt yourself and you look past it. The obvious thought would be, oh, he must have been taken afar to throw people off the scent. And in some way or another, that could be the case with the whole wash situation. Who knows what wash? Because Candice Cooley said there's several of them. She also said that not mine, but someone's map interpretation was wrong as well. So maybe Candice Cooley is just saying that to stop and prevent people from going to the actual wash, because then it could cause evidence to be ruined, damaged. So it's best keeping quiet or keeping anonymous in a way. That's understandable. Who knows, like if it's at the start or end of the wash, whether Dylan has been washed, pushed along at a point in time. Maybe we'll find out sometime, I'm sure. Do I think it will find out before or just the beginning of the winter or the end of winter, around about that period probably. I still think there could be a twist and turn at some point, more regarding this video and stuff, whether it be direct, indirect, you know, you always got to be on the lookout. So I think that's it for now. Okay, it's been a long video. Hopefully you managed to watch it all and internalize it. If not, feel free to rewind it back afterwards and look at key points. Feel free to leave comments down below, that would be good. And, you know, feel free to check out the links down below to some of the videos as well. It might help your understanding. And yeah, So hopefully Mr. X is okay over there. You okay, Mr. X?
Yeah, man, I'm doing just great. I've been reading so bad, but it'll do.
That's great. That's good to know. So, good night for now, and goodbye. I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is.